Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Mindset Project podcast, the podcast that gives you the tools to develop an elite physical and mental performance and gives you that daily dose of positivity. Using my own knowledge as a competitive swimmer and from different professionals, I hope to provide an experience which makes you think differently about the things around you and promote some sort of personal growth. I hope to connect you through evidence-based information from experts in their field. So with that, I would like to say, I hope you're doing well, staying fit and staying safe. So let's get on to it. The episode this week is a very, different type of episode, and it's kind of like following up from last week's episode on nutrition. The topic this week is all about spices. Now, that may sound completely random, but spices and herbs are so underrated, and not just as flavouring foods, but they can also act as natural medicines. And for anyone that doesn't know me personally, or who knows me but doesn't really know this about me, when it comes to medicine, I prefer to take a more holistic and natural approach. And a kind of example I can think of is, say I had a migraine. Now, a lot of people would jump to the medicine cupboard to pop a few paracetamol or ibuprofen to ease the pain, but I always stick my feet in a basin of hot water, and what this does is it just draws the circulation away from the brain, which is the cause of this migraine or headache. And my kind of thought process is, why use medication or medicine when there's a more natural solution that works just as well? So that's kind of like my thought process behind that. And I think I've probably taken about 2 paracetamols in my whole life. I just don't see why medication should be the first place that we go to when humans have been using these sort of natural methods of recovery before any sort of modern medicine even came about. And another example is if we may feel quite down or not motivated, sometimes the best thing to do is actually just get out around nature and get a bit of oxygen, or just do some form of exercise like walking or running. Which takes me on to the topic of this episode, and using spices to promote our health. And I'm not honestly sure how long this will be. I don't know how in depth you can actually talk about spices, but we're definitely going to see, aren't we? And one thing I actually have realised since starting this podcast is how long speaking actually is. On the past episodes, it feels like I've been speaking for about 10 minutes when it actually turns out to be 5. And I actually thought I would be quite good at podcasting because I can actually talk for a long period of time. When a lot of people think I'm really quiet, but as soon as you get to know me, I just don't shut up. So I actually thought this was actually going to be quite easy, just talking for about an hour, but turns out I can only talk for about 35. So back on topic, and the most common spice or herb to mention is garlic, and the original use of garlic was actually for medicinal purposes, and it was used by ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians, the Babylonians and the ancient Greeks. And an advance in science has actually found that health benefits come from the sulfur compounds which are formed when garlic is crushed or chewed. And garlic is also really nutritious as it contains many vitamins and minerals and is relatively low in calories. And some scientists say they think garlic actually has a little bit of everything that you need, which is basically all your vitamins and minerals, a wee bit. It helps combat many things such as sickness and the common cold by improving the response of our immune system. And there was a 12-week study which found that garlic had reduced the number of colds by 63% compared to the placebo group, which 63 is almost 2/3, which is quite a high number when you think about it. In the same study, the period the cold lasted for was also impacted, and it was actually reduced. So in the garlic group, the cold lasted about a day and a half compared to 5 days for the placebo group. So if you are prone to getting colds, then it could be worth adding garlic into your diet, either from adding it into sauces, your meals, or taking garlic supplements. And I'm pretty sure you can get odorless garlic, which is basically just a tablet that has all the vitamins and minerals that garlic has, but it doesn't have any flavour, so that could be worth checking out. It also reduces your blood pressure, which is a leading cause of heart attacks and strokes. And it also reduces cholesterol levels, which again lowers the risk of heart disease. So obviously cholesterol and heart attacks and strokes and heart disease are all come under the same umbrella. And another fascinating thing about garlic is that it contains antioxidants which can help prevent Alzheimer's and dementia. So how this works is the oxidative damage to our body increases the aging process. So these antioxidants help stabilise these oxidants and reduce the oxidative stress on our body. And in ancient Greece, they actually gave garlic to athletes as they believed it improved their athletic performance. And this makes sense because from all these sort of benefits mentioned, your body will perform better and ultimately your performance will also improve. So garlic is a very beneficial herb or spice, I think it's a herb, not sure, to consume and has been for thousands of years. And it's only until recently with the advances in science that we've actually been able to determine the true benefits of this smelly herb. So the next time you think you are reeking of garlic, just remember all the benefits it has. The next herb I will mention is basil. Now this is a herb that I don't really consume a lot of myself, but basil is what is in things like pesto. It is normally found in Italian tomato sauces, normally in Italian cuisine as well, and it's not really something that you often get on its own, like it's normally in a sauce or it is a sauce itself. You also get a variety of basils, and sweet basil is one of these varieties and has probably the most benefits that I know of, and these include reducing memory loss and prevent aging. Now, you'll probably start to see that most of these herbs and spices will have some sort of anti-aging benefit to them. It also helps reduce depression and combat stress. This is a very important one because our mental health is just as important as our physical health, and I think if you have a knock-on effect to your mental health, then that starts to have a domino effect which can negatively impact your physical health. And I think I touched this on the first episode when I talked about routine. Like if we're a lot of stress, then that can kind of like make us feel run down and can lead to burnout, which isn't really good for us, and it just makes us prone to catching colds or illnesses and that sort of thing. Basil is also thought to prevent some cancers such as breast cancer, colon cancer and pancreatic cancer. And another mental benefit to this is that it helps promote mental alertness when inhaled as aromatherapy. So I'm assuming if you kind of like burn it and the aroma kind of goes into the air, or if you just get a leaf and smell it. And if, for example, if I am in the supermarket, I will sometimes go over to the herbs and rub the leaves of basil because I really like the smell of basil. And for me, basil is like a very nostalgic smell, as it always reminds me of when I used to go to like my auntie's house and she always cooked with basil, like it was in literally everything. And it also has some antibiotic properties, including combating antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria, which obviously is a good thing. And who actually knew that basil, like a little herb, could act as like basically an antibiotic? The third spice I will talk about is cayenne pepper or cayenne pepper. So cayenne is a type of chili, so they have a similar health benefits. And similar to garlic, cayenne pepper is very low in calories and has a lot of vitamins and minerals inside it. The active ingredient which gives it the medicinal property is capsicum. This is also responsible for its spice and its heat. Now, this isn't a medicinal property as such, but cayenne is said to increase your metabolism by increasing the heat your body produces, and this means you'll burn more calories. And I don't know if anyone watches like cooking shows, but I watch MasterChef Australia, and one of the judges, well, he's not a judge anymore, but he used to be, he was like small and had like a bald head, and he hated spicy foods because it would just make him sweat. And I've never actually experienced sweating from eating spicy foods, but you might have had that experience as well, and this is the capsicum effect of increasing the heat in our body. However, one thing to note is that studies have shown that this increase is relatively small, so just downing cayenne isn't actually going to get you completely shredded. And it helps reduce blood pressure, and like basil, it can also reduce the risk of developing cancers. And in some studies, they have found that capsicum actually slows down the growth rate of cancer cells, which again is also a benefit. And the next herb that I'm going to talk about is one that I don't really know a lot of. Like I did have to do a bit of research into this, and it's chives. Now, one of these benefits is preventing osteoporosis, and for anyone that doesn't know what this is, it's basically brittle bones. And this is because chives are loaded with vitamin K, which is a very important component of bone density. It in some parts of Asia, for example, they are actually using vitamin K supplements to see if that helps reduce osteoporosis in the population. And chives are also help improve your memory, as they contain choline and folate, which are both linked to improving the function of your memory. There was a study where adults had eaten more foods with choline, and they actually had performed better on cognitive tests than the adults who didn't have a lot of foods with choline. Now, I'm not 100% sure if you can just eat chives in food to get the best health benefits, or you have to eat them in their purest form. I'm assuming it would be in its purest form, because that means it's still got as much nutrients as it can. Like when you chop it up and then add heat and stuff, that just kind of takes all the nutrients away from it. So I'm assuming it's just in the purest form, but I don't know, I could be wrong. Which takes me on to the next herb, and it's one of my favourites, and that is coriander. And one of the many benefits of coriander is that it contains many antioxidants, and like discussed earlier, this helps boost the immune system and reduces aging, down to the antioxidants' effect on oxidative damage. And coriander has been shown to fight inflammation in the body. Many of the ailments of the brain, such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, etc., are associated with inflammation in the brain, so coriander has a positive effect on reducing inflammation. Because of this herb also has an important effect on our mental health as well, because if we are able to use these to prevent these brain diseases, then that is obviously a good thing. Now I'm going to come on to two more spices, and these are my go-to spices, the ones that I use in almost everything that I have. So the next one is ginger, and whenever I get the cold, I don't really want to be bogged down for a very long time. I want to be recovering as quickly and as efficiently as I possibly can, because the longer I am ill, the longer it will take for me to recover. And in a sport like swimming, you really should be 100% before getting back into the pool, because obviously swimming, the training intensity is normally very high, and the environment as well. You're in a pool, and another quick fact for you is that I'm pretty sure it's the first 2 or 3 centimeters of the water is where all the germs lie, so that's pretty much the area that you are swimming in, so you're pretty much swimming just in germs. So I normally go straight for the herbs and spices and bang them into absolutely everything to pretty much turn my immune system up a notch and basically turbo boost it. And what I normally do is I have a hot drink and put some ginger in there, and it's kind of like a ginger tea, and that normally works. I normally have a cold within a few days, and that's me, boom, back to normal. And ginger is one of these other spices that has been used for years and years, and the medicinal properties came from the oil inside the spice, ginger oil. And according to research, this has a lot of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. It is also believed that ginger contains antimicrobial properties, which are important in fighting infections like the common cold. This probably explains why it always seems to work for me when I have the cold. And ginger can sometimes be a strong spice, but I think it is quite versatile. You're more likely to find it in Asian cuisine, and I think you normally get pieces of ginger in some sushi packets from the supermarket and stuff. And you also get ginger in a lot of smoothies these days, and I think the one I remember is the innocent, I think it's called the Citrus Shield, which has mandarin, citrus, ginger, and then your added vitamins. And I would highly recommend this spice for anyone, because it has never failed me once, touch wood. So the next spice is another staple of mine, and that is turmeric. And I like turmeric because I find it has a very subtle taste, and it's almost like a sweet type of taste, and it isn't as potent as garlic and ginger or other spices. And I mean, it is a nightmare if you spill it, because it just turns everything yellow. And this is another spice that has been used for thousands of years, this one specifically in India. And again, due to the advances in science, scientists are now confirming what people in India have known for a long time: it has medicinal properties. And just in this episode, I've just realised that the spices that I tend to have as my go-to are the ones which seem to have been around for thousands of years, and the ones which I've been told to have medicinal properties. So I sometimes feel like I've actually came from a different time, because why on earth would my intuition draw me straight to these magic herbs that have been used for years and years? Is it a coincidence, or is it just spooky? Now, the chemical in turmeric which gives it its medicinal properties is curcumin, and this has powerful anti-inflammatory properties as well as being a very strong antioxidant. Now, curcumin is also able to boost brain-driven neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which has been linked to a lower risk of brain disease. Again, turmeric can prevent some cancers and promotes heart health. It also has good results in treating depression, and in a study of 60 people who had curcumin/turmeric had similar effects to other antidepressants. Curcumin boosts BDNF levels, which could reverse the effects of depression, as depression is linked to reduced levels of BDNF. And my question is always, why take medication when there is always like a natural remedy which is just as good? Like, I'm not saying that advanced medicine these days is completely wrong or anything like that, but I just prefer to have a more natural approach to recovery, I guess you could say. So those are just some spices I personally use, and like with chives being the only one that I kind of did have to do a little bit of research on, and like I said at the start, I always try and opt for a more natural response to illness or ailments, and obviously some things will of course need antibiotics. Like if you do have some sort of infection, for example, then if your doctor recommends them, then do take them. And I just kind of wanted to provide an alternative approach which could work before seeing a doctor, if that makes sense. And obviously I'm not a doctor myself yet. I could be in the future, who knows. So like I've said before on this podcast, these are just my experiences and what has worked for me. They may not work for you, so I'm not saying you have to have these to achieve X or your desired result, but you can always try and see if they do. And I don't know how reliable these benefits actually are, as they could be some sort of placebo for all I know. And there is one thing that I always say about any sort of belief system, and it is, no matter how wacky or how silly something sounds, if you believe in something, believe in it. Like, it doesn't matter if other people discredit your belief system, or if they say that that's completely stupid. If you believe in it, just believe in it. Like, the things I personally believe in are things that have happened to me personally, so I believe turmeric gives me better health because, having tried it, it has worked for me and improved my health, if that makes sense. And I think I may have mentioned this in an earlier episode, but I will do an episode on my own belief system in the future, as I do have a sort of structure and road in which I want to take this podcast, and I hope to get into a more philosophical aspect later on in this podcast. And back to my spices. If you want to do further research into other spices, then please do so. I would always say building on our knowledge can help us sometimes to have a better understanding of life and things around us, and spices are sometimes overlooked, and I don't think there's one meal I have which doesn't have some sort of spice or herb in it. They also add some sort of flavouring to our food, and if we're trying to lose weight, for example, then foods may taste quite boring, such as your classic chicken and rice, and just bung in a few spices on there and Bob's your uncle, and it also elevates the flavour and provides some health benefits as well. It's a win-win in my view. So I really hope that this episode was quite different to other podcasts that you've listened to before. I hope it's educational as well, and kind of gives you like provide a deeper insight into spices and the power that they actually have, especially on our body as well. And also I'm starting to kind of drip my little philosophical views in as well, which I hope you enjoy. So with that, stay fit, stay safe, stay positive, and I shall see you on the next one.